Welcome to World News and Politics News Bulletin today. Why a few researchers think a comet, not a space rock, made the dinosaurs go wiped out. One day 66 million years prior, Earth unexpectedly changed from being a verdant, dinosaur-ridden world to an ash-covered prophetically calamitous hellscape. The termination occasion cleared out 75% of the world's creature and plant species at that point, including dinosaurs. Proof of that cataclysmic day can be found in the Chicxulub pit, an intensely disintegrated 90-mile-wide effect site situated on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, which is broadly accepted to be the effect site for whatever set off the mass eradication occasion. And keeping in mind that there is logical agreement that something hit the Earth that pivotal day, there are various speculations about precisely what. In fact, for quite a long time, geologists and geophysicists have focused on the possibility that a space rock is to be faulted. Presently, astrophysicists at Harvard University are hypothesizing that a cold comet from the Oort cloud, a hypothetical shell of frigid flotsam and jetsam at the edge of the nearby planetary group, flew excessively near the Sun, partially because of Jupiter's solid flowing powers, and ultimately fell to pieces and collided with Earth. As such, cometary shrapnel from an extensive stretch comet which pinged around our nearby planetary group might have caused the effect that prompted a mass elimination, instead of an asteroid. Amir Siraj, lead specialist and undergrad in astronomy at Harvard University, and Avi Loeb, who is the previous seat of stargazing at Harvard University, arrived on this hypothesis utilizing factual examination and gravitational recreations. Their discoveries were distributed in Nature's Scientific Reports on February 15. In the paper, the specialists set forth their new figurings that expansion by a factor of 10 the probability of significant stretch comets, which means those which have orbital periods longer than 200 years striking Earth. They additionally compute that 20% of extensive stretch comets become sunrazers, which means comets that fly exceptionally near the Sun and are whipped back through the earthly planets. The circumstance of these computations would be steady with the age of the Chicxulub pit, the scientists clarified, giving an acceptable clarification for the birthplace of the impactor. Siraj revealed to Salon he didn't initially search out to discover the response to the causes of the Chicxulub impactor, yet he began to test further while investigating the space rock sway rates for Earth-like exoplanets. This drove him to consider cometary effect rates on those frameworks, which prompted him making mathematical recreations to compute extensive stretch comets in our own close planetary system. What I wound up finding most striking was that a critical part of Earth-crossing meaning comets 10 astronomical unit of the Sun were straightforwardly gone before by surprisingly close experiences with the Sun, Siraj said. I found that these comets were passing so near the Sun that they were inside as far as possible, where you can get flowing disturbances, and I dove into this point further, and I wound up finding that these comets were being created all around by communications with Jupiter, which was basically acting like a pinball machine. A typical hypothesis on the birthplace of the Chicxulub hole recommends that the source began from the principal belt, a zone between the circle of Jupiter and Mars populated with space rocks. The scientists say their hypothesis gives a more reasonable premise that can ultimately be demonstrated. Our paper gives a premise to clarifying the event of this occasion, Loeb said in a media explanation. We are proposing that, indeed, in the event that you separate an article as it approaches the Sun, it could offer ascent to the suitable occasion rate and furthermore the sort of effect that murdered the dinosaurs. Already, proof from the Chicxulub cavity recommended the effect object was made of carbonaceous chondrite. Information in the previous decade or somewhere in the vicinity, and even before that, show that this psi-thesis is very uncommon among space rocks, Siraj said. Furthermore, we have a genuinely better than average of the dissemination of space rock psi-theses essentially because of having shooting stars, which principally come from space rocks. However, comets, he noted, are not too perceived. However, we know from one effective example return comet mission that comets do contain carbonaceous chondrite, Siraj said. Siraj and Loeb aren't the lone ones setting the hypothesis that a comet executed the dinosaurs. Two geoscientists progressed the hypothesis in 2013, in part in light of the fact that the degrees of iridium and osmium around the effect site were lower than ought to show up in a space rock and more able for a comet sway. Siraj said examining iridium will be a significant dynamic region of exploration to all the more likely comprehend what impactor that caused the Chicxulub cavity. Suppose researchers in the end demonstrate that a comet prompted the termination of dinosaurs and totally changed Earth. Will that change how we see space rocks, or comets, as a danger to life on Earth? Space rocks are as yet the significant transient danger, Siraj said. He noticed that the uplifting news about their hypothesis is that there's a low likelihood that shrapnel from a significant stretch comet will hit Earth in the course of our life. We don't need to stress over cometary effect being incredibly basic on exceptionally short time scales. Notwithstanding, it changes the manner in which we consider longer term, similar to 1 million years and then some. I envision our human progress should need to deal with these inquiries of avoiding little space rocks, which is altogether different from diverting enormous space rocks. Which is additionally totally different from redirecting comets. Humankind's need to make emergency courses of action to address planet-wide destruction occasions features the significance of future exploration around the elements of little bodies in our nearby planetary group.